Hello, this is Lacquerography, and this is my wish list for September 2024's Hella Handmade Creations. I've already gone in and taken a quick first impressions look at all the items being offered new this month, and I currently have 14 items that I've saved to my preliminary wish list. Let's dive right in and take a look at those 14 items that are catching my eye. The first item on my wish list is by Bee's Knees Lacquer, and this one is called For the Love of the Game. Bee's Knees Lacquer continues their Fallout series. For the Love of the Game is a muted sage with a strong orange to green microflake shimmer, and there is no current availability cap for this polish at this time. So what that means is that this maker can produce as many polishes as needed to fulfill all orders this month. So there's so much to say about this one. First of all, I think that it's a really interesting, murky looking neutral. And that's what initially drew me to this polish, that it was just an interesting take on a neutral, this shimmer and this kind of what I thought was a grayed out base. But reading the description, the fact that this one is actually a muted sage base with this strong orange to green microflake shimmer, this makes me want it even more. I love that idea that this one is actually a muted sage, like a grayed green underneath. I think that this one would be really fascinating to see in person. It could be a little bit of a prugly kind of polish, but I love that kind of grungy, prugly look if that's in fact how this might look in person. This one is a very safe choice for me and will most likely end up in my shopping cart when the shop opens on September the 14th. This one is by Bee's Knees Lacquer, For the Love of the Game. The next polish up is by Colores de Carol, and this one is called Meet George Jetson, and this one is a magnetic. This polish is listed as having a cap, which means that in this case here, that this maker can make just 120 of these before it's considered sold out. So that's actually quite a small cap, 120 of these items being made available. I'll have to make sure that if this polish makes the final cut for my shopping cart, that I will have to think about making my purchase right when the shop opens on September the 14th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time to make sure that this item doesn't sell out on me. Colores de Carol continues their The Jetson series with a polish inspired by George Jetson. Meet George Jetson is a pine green with candy pearl shimmer and subtle multi-dimensional magnetic effect. I am such a green lover, and so seeing a polish like this one where they've got this really interesting sort of bluish looking magnetic effect, this one is fascinating to me. I have nothing like this polish at all in my collection. This one reminds me a little bit of the earth and actually of springtime and things like that. There really is just so much about this polish that I think is unique and also unique to my collection. Really beautiful, very intriguing to me. And as a green polish lover, I know that I'd enjoy a polish like this one. This polish is by Colores de Carol, and this one is called Meet George Jetson. This next polish up is by Cracked Polish, and this one is called For the Love of Indie. This one again is a capped offering, and in this case, this maker is offering 200 of these products before it's considered sold out. With this polish, Cracked Polish joins HHC for the first time. Their first series is inspired by all things indie polish with Going Down the Rabbit Hole. For the Love of Indie is a dark blurple polish, and it features matching soft magnetic blurple pigments, pink, purple, aqua shifting flakes, pink glitters, blue shimmers, and a mesmerizing purple shift. It sounds like there's a ton going on in this polish. So I have the feeling that, these photos are all gorgeous, but I think this one would really come alive in person. Now, I did want to take a closer look at this image here because it's a little bit more of a macro shot, and I do believe, I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe that here the swatcher has taken advantage of the magnetic effect for this polish. I couldn't quite pick up the magnetic effect in all the swatches that I was seeing here. It is listed as having a matching soft magnetic blurple pigment kind of effect, but for this one I think I'm seeing it quite well, to say prominently, I don't know that that's the right word, but I do think that I'm seeing a bit of a magnetic pull here. I think that this one's interesting. It's funny, I don't really have like an emotional connection to the polish so much, but I love the brand. I've managed to purchase quite a few times from Cracked Polish directly in just their first year of being open as a company, and I've been loving everything that's been released. I have the feeling that even though I don't really have a connection so much to this polish, I think it's intriguing, I think it's beautiful, I think that this magnetic pull is a little bit haunting, and actually I think it fits the vibe of the upcoming spooky season quite well. It's beautiful, yet a little bit eerie. But it's funny, I don't really have that emotional pull to this polish itself, but I love the brand. And I can only imagine that having this polish in person, I would probably fall in love with it even more. I'll have to see again where the rest of my wish list stacks up as it comes closer to the time for the shop to open. But I love the brand. I'm really liking what I'm seeing here from this polish. I think there's a lot happening, and I think that this one could be a lot of fun to play around with in different ways. I'm also wondering about even wearing a polish like this one, perhaps even in a single coat with maybe something underneath. I think that could be quite an interesting look. I'll also have to maybe look out for some live swatches just to see what that application process is like for this one. But this one is definitely a favorite brand, and I have the feeling that getting this polish in person, I would very much love the polish too. This one is by Cracked Polish, For the Love of Indie. This next polish up is another one by Cracked Polish, and this one is actually their Halloween offering for Hella Handmade Creations this month, and this one is called Clotted. This one is another capped pre-order polish with only 200 of these polishes being made available this month. For Halloween, Cracked Polish has created a polish inspired by the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland's quote, "Off with her head." Clotted is a deep warm red polish that's enriched with gold and copper shifting flakes and red shimmers. Now this one I have a little bit more of a draw to. I find it interesting that they're describing this polish as a warm red polish. It's very warm. I would have actually almost called it like a burnt orange kind of look, but perhaps that's because of the gold and copper shifting flakes and red shimmer that's happening with this one too. Again, I think that this one, knowing what I know about Cracked Polish and how much I love it as a brand, I have the feeling that this one would just come alive seeing it in person. I do tend to be very drawn to these types of orange, brown colors, these earthier colors, a little bit more actually than I am to the previous polish, which is maybe kind of an unpopular opinion. I don't really know. At first glance, I really did enjoy the look of this polish. Also, I love the fact that this one is being inspired by Alice in Wonderland. That's always had a lot of significance for me, and it just adds that extra level of enjoyment to me when there's that kind of attachment to a polish and the inspiration beyond just liking the polish itself. So this one I think might be my top pick out of the two Cracked Polish items this month. So this polish is by Cracked Polish, and this is their Halloween offering called Clotted. The next item up on my wish list is by Cuticula, and this one is called Beauty. Cuticula continues their Dreamlight Valley series with the polish inspired by Belle. Beauty has a white crelly base with a background of blue shifting glass flakes and added blue and bronze metallic flakes. Now for me, I don't really know what else to say about this polish other than the fact that I just think it is a beautiful one. It's quite a lovely white crelly base with these shifting flakes. I just think it's pretty. I really have no connection with Dreamlight Valley at all. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, Belle, I can imagine how that might fit in, but it really is just a very pretty polish. This one this month isn't a top pick for me, but I'll have to see. I think I would get a lot of use out of it if I purchased it, but I'm not quite sure that this one will make the final cut for me. It is rather gorgeous though. This one is by Cuticula, Beauty. This next polish up is by Dom Nail Polish, and this one is called Northern Lights. This one also has a cap of only 200 of these items being made available this month. Dom Nail Polish continues their Bucket List Destinations series. Northern Lights has a gray base with a tinge of purple and green aqua purple pink shifting shimmer. Now this for me is kind of everything. This is a bucket list destination for me in my life, although I keep hoping that I don't have to go very far to see the Northern Lights. I'm Canadian, and Northern Lights are very much a part of our night sky experience. However, where I live, it's quite built up and there is a whole lot of light pollution. So even during times of the year when the Northern Lights are supposed to be highly visible, I don't tend to see them in my area. So it would be one of these things where I'll have to travel outside of my locale in order to find them, perhaps into Canada's north, perhaps something like the Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, something like that. Also, another place that I've loved visiting, and I've been there twice, about 10 years apart, was Iceland. And I know that the Northern Lights are often a big travel draw in Iceland during different times of year as well, if you are lucky enough to be able to catch them when you're there. So anyway, this polish though is everything I've been loving lately. Gray polishes or grayed out polishes have been a big thing for me over the last several months. This polish just looks absolutely versatile and lovely, a little bit cool. Like I think I would enjoy wearing this in the fall, but also especially in the winter. But I'm attracted to grayed out polishes, gray polishes at any time of year. So this one I think is a top pick for me this month. I think I have a few, but this one is in that top realm of my selections this month, and most likely will be one in my cart when the shop opens. This polish is by Dom Nail Polish, Northern Lights. This next one up is something a little bit different from some of my other picks here. This one is by Garden Path Lacquers, and this one is called Villain Era. Garden Path Lacquers continues their Bridgerton Dresses series with a polish inspired by Cressida Cowper's Blood Red Revenge dress. Villain Era is a blood red jelly filled with red holographic microglitter and matte red hex glitters in various sizes. And there is luckily no listed availability cap at this point for this polish. So that's a great thing. No matter what time I place my order, I should be able to get this polish. And this one, again, is another front runner on my wish list. Red polishes are kind of a newfound love of mine. I used to shy away from red polishes quite a bit. I've always loved the look of red polish on people, but I work a lot with my hands. I'm an elementary teacher. I keep my nails short. I tend to be hard on my hands, and I do tend to get a lot of chipping with my nail polish, usually within just a couple of days, just because of my lifestyle. And there's just something about chipped red polish that was always kind of a turn off to me. I always loved that pristine look of red polish on very polished people, who could pull it off so elegantly. And I just never seemed to be one of those people. I tended to be hard on my hands and chip my polish quickly. But I am getting better at taking precautions and things like that. And I also don't shy away from changing my polish more often in a week than I used to. So I know that this one is unique in my collection. I don't have any reds that look anything quite like this. This one just looks so interesting, that jelly finish, and I could just imagine how this must look. The holographic microglitter along with those red hex glitters, just layer upon layer, I think would look so just dramatic. And I wish that Bridgerton was something I was familiar with. I don't have a streaming service, so I don't actually have access to Bridgerton as a show. I believe it's on Netflix right now, and I don't have access to it. I haven't read the books either, but I have the feeling that it's a series that I'd be very attracted to and drawn to, especially considering that the theme right now for Garden Path Lacquers is Bridgerton dresses. The fact that fashion plays into it, that's always kind of an interest for me as well. So this polish sort of looks like everything I hope red polish could look like on me wearing it. So I think this is another pretty safe choice for me this month. I imagine this one will most likely be coming home with me. This one is by Garden Path Lacquers, Villain Era. This next one up is by Jen and Berries, Remember the Can't. This one is another capped item with only 450 of these being made available this month. Jen & Barry's continues their The Expanse series with a polish inspired by the ice hauling ship, the Canterbury. Remember the Can't has a velvet linear holographic base in a soft gray with glowy blue-purple shifty shimmer. Now here's another gray. I think this one is really quite beautiful and strikingly different from the last gray, the Dawn polish that we saw earlier. Now this one's interesting to me. I don't have any attachment to the inspiration here. I'm not familiar with the series The Expanse, but the polish itself is so beautiful. Icy, perhaps stormy looking. I like the idea of it being inspired by the ice hauling ship, the Canterbury. That actually intrigues me. I wish I knew a little bit about the inspiration for this one. But yeah, this really is another example of a very elegant looking neutral gray polish. I think this is stunningly beautiful. And I'll have to see. I mean, I really, really like this one. I'm not quite sure where this ranks for me on my wish list. I think it's quite high up there. I'm not quite sure if I need two grays, but this one is certainly gorgeous. And I'm pretty sure that this would be another polish that I might consider wearing 4 seasons a year and for almost any occasion, kind of as a go-to polish. I think this would be a very safe bet. I know I would like it, and I think I'd get a ton of use out of a polish like this. This one is by Jen & Barry's, Remember the Can't. This next polish up is by Night Owl Lacquer, and this one is called They're Dangerous, But I Love Their Swagger. With this polish, Night Owl Lacquer continues their Bob's Burgers series with a polish inspired by a quote from Tina. They're dangerous, but I love their swagger is a blackened burgundy filled with pink, gold, green, teal, shifting multichrome flakes. And again, thank goodness there is no cap for this polish. Now this one is a polish that I have not been able to get out of my mind, so I think that this polish might just be my top pick this month. There's something about this polish when I saw it that reminded me of fading roses, wilting, dried roses. There was kind of an eeriness about this one, which I think is so perfect coming into fall. I'm really intrigued too by what looks like a more jelly-like base, and then all these flakes inside it. It just looks like such a unique combination, unique to anything that I have in my collection. There's such a beauty to this polish, and I find also kind of the reverse, kind of a decay kind of idea for me anyway, with those like wilting rose kind of effects. Like, I really do love this one. And this is the one that when I keep thinking about this preliminary wish list, I keep coming back to this polish. I've only ever seen really 1 or 2 episodes ever, I think, of Bob's Burgers, and it makes me want to actually watch this show. I find that the names of the polishes that Night Owl Lacquer has been producing have been so interesting and often quite funny. And I'd love to know a little bit more about the inspiration for these polishes. But for me, just the look of this one has this one sitting right at the top of my list. This polish is by Night Owl Lacquer. They're dangerous, but I love their swagger. This next item up is actually the most recent addition to my wish list. This one is by Paradox Polish, Why You All Gagging? Paradox Polish continues their RuPaul's Drag Race series with a polish inspired by Bob the Drag Queen. And it says he's touring right now to a city near you. Why You All Gagging is a darkened emerald green with a lime to gold aurora shift, scattered hollow, and iridescent flakes. Now this one's interesting for me. At first, I think all I saw on the website when I first created this preliminary wish list was just a bottle shot, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw that it was green, but without swatchers photos, this one didn't make my wish list. Now that I've seen some swatches, I'm a lover of green polishes. This one looks really beautiful. I need a little bit more time to sit with this one and to see how this one really compares to some of the other greens I've acquired in my collection, and also how this one compares with some of the other items that I've been selecting so far this month through Hella Handmade Creations. But I was really pleasantly surprised when the swatchers photos started to be uploaded on the website this month. This one looks really quite interesting. That base color, these flakies within it, it's got such a lovely glow. And I think really perfect for fall. I think I would enjoy wearing this in winter too, perhaps even 4 seasons of the year. This could be a fresh, darkened spring kind of look in summer too. Greens for me are such a versatile color. So I'll have to sit with this one a little bit and also compare some of these images with some of the polishes that I already have in my collection and see how this one fares. But I'm really quite impressed. I'm glad I waited a little bit to see the photos come through. This one is by Paradox Polish. Why You All Gagging? This next polish up is by Red Eyed Lacquer, and it's called No, It's Pronounced Frankenstein. There is a cap for this polish with only 200 of these being made available. Red Eyed Lacquer continues their iconic movie lines with a polish inspired by Young Frankenstein. No, It's Pronounced Frankenstein has a grungy green jelly base with pink-purple shifting flakes and black flakies. Now this one's a little bit of trouble for me, so I've added it to my wish list, but as it stands now, it wouldn't make the cut when the shop opens. And the reason for that is I haven't seen any swatchers' photos of this polish yet. I remain so hopeful though for this polish. This one's listed as being another grungy green jelly polish with all kinds of flakes in it. Pink to purple shifting flakes and black flakes. I have the feeling that I would love it. Red Eyed Lacquer is a brand that I absolutely love. I've always enjoyed the polishes that I've acquired from them. I just don't feel right at this point purchasing a polish without really seeing it first, especially when the offerings this month are so strong. My wish list is incredibly long, and I've got some polishes on that list that I would be very upset to pass up. So I'm really hopeful that some swatch photos start appearing on the website in the next couple of days. Otherwise, this one unfortunately will not make the list, but I am so hopeful. There are also a couple of people in my life where this movie is a favorite of theirs, and I've never seen it. I've heard such great things. I know at this point it's a little older, could be a little outdated. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not familiar with it. But anyway, I still remain so hopeful for this polish. This one is by Red Eyed Lacquer. No, It's Pronounced Frankenstein. This next polish up is by Sassy Cat's Lacquer, and it's called Press Pause. This one has a very small cap this month of only 100 of these being made available. Sassy Cat's Lacquer continues their For the Love of Cat series. Press Pause has a blue base with glowy red-orange glowy shimmer. It's extra glowy with glowy red-orange glowy shimmer. Sorry, I just read it as it's listed. Now it's been a little while since I've made a purchase of Sassy Cat's Lacquer through Hella Handmade Creations. But this is a finish I love. I love their polishes where they've got a base and a contrasting glowy shimmer. I own several that come in that sort of a formula, a base with a contrasting shimmer, and I absolutely love every single one. I find that the quality is out of this world gorgeous. And this one's a colorway that really got me right away. This one has, for me, a little bit of a grayed out quality to it. I find it interesting, actually, that it's just described as having a blue base. To me, it actually, if it's a blue base, it reminds me of kind of a grayed out denim-y kind of blue. And for me, that is all the vibes I'm looking for right now. I just went back to school. I'm an elementary teacher. We've been back just 1 week at this point. And for me, denim blues always signal start of fall, back to school, September, October as well. It's always consistently a colorway that I'm drawn to at this time of year, so I know I'd get a ton of use out of it. And I know I love this finish by Sassy Cat's Lacquer. I think they do it so incredibly well. So we'll have to see how this one stacks up, but this one is pretty beautiful. This one is by Sassy Cat's Lacquer, Press Pause. And it's a pretty cute name as well. Now here's a little more trouble being caused for me by Sassy Cat's Lacquer. This is a Halloween duo called What a Pretty Spider and Book Come Home. This one is a capped offering, with only 50 of these duos being made available. So that is an incredibly small cap. If I do choose to purchase this, I will have to make my purchase right when the shop opens, which for me is very late at night. I'll have to stay up for this on September the 14th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That'll be a challenge for me. We'll have to see how this one stacks up on my wish list with a cap of only 50 of these available. Sassy Cats has created a duo for Halloween inspired by Hocus Pocus. What a Pretty Spider has an aubergine base with a glowy blue-green shimmer. Book Come Home has an olive base with glowy red shimmer. I mean, what can I say? It's almost exactly the same thing I just said for the last single listing, the listing for their September release through Hella Handmade Creations. I love this finish by Sassy Cats Lacquer. The base color with a contrasting glowy shimmer is just everything by them. Every single one that I've purchased from them, I have loved. And the fact that there's two here that come in these perfect fall, Halloween-y kind of colorways, I'm kind of left speechless. Like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. I could very well end up getting all three of these, and my budget really doesn't allow for that this time around. So I'll have to be pretty ruthless here and consider my options. I really can't say enough about this finish by Sassy Cats Lacquer. I think they do it so incredibly well. And if I had to explain like how beautiful I think this finish is by them, anytime I wear it, it's like having the most magical sea glass on my nails, no matter what the colorway. The finish is always so flawless and streak-free with just this base and the most magical contrasting shimmer. Sea glass really is the best way I can think to describe it because it is so unique. I've never really seen any other brand execute this kind of a look quite like Sassy Cats Lacquer. So this incredible duo that is only available as a duo this month, this one is by Sassy Cats Lacquer. It's their Halloween duo, What a Pretty Spider and Book Come Home. The very final item on my wish list is actually probably tied for top on my wish list this month. This is a non-polish item, although the polish that's in this image as well is quite stunningly beautiful. This is actually an item from Watcha Indie Polish, but this is their Velvet Effect magnet. This one is a capped pre-order item, and there are only 300 of these being made available this month. But I am kind of hopeful that if this does well, I'm hopeful that it might reappear. So here's the description that goes along with this. Watcha Indie Polish brings us their Velvet Effect magnet for magnetic polishes. And it says support material, PLA is a biodegradable thermoplastic of natural origin and renewable sources, such as cornstarch or sugar cane. And this one is a 30 millimeter magnet, so actually a pretty decent size. Now, I'm not an owner of one of those very popular 30-pound horseshoe magnets in order to make velvet magnetic effects with magnetic nail polishes. I don't own one of those. I'm always sort of worried about how that might treat some of my electronics around my home. I don't have a very big home, and so a lot of where I do my nails is where I also have some technology present. Anyway, I don't really think that for my lifestyle, having a 30-pound magnet in my home is really a wise choice. So when I saw this, I actually at first saw an item that is similar through Polish Pickup this month in September, except it was branded not by Watcha Indie Polish. It was being offered by Vanessa Molina, and it had a different branding marker on it, according to the company that was selling it. Now, to my eye, the products look pretty similar. They might be different, but to my eye, they look quite similar. And what drew me to this one in particular is that it's being listed for $1 cheaper. This one is $1 less expensive at $14 than the offering was through Polish Pickup, which was being listed for $15 American. And for me, that's a savings of more than $1 because I'm a Canadian and the Canadian dollar is not doing very well compared to American dollars. My dollar certainly doesn't stretch that far. So I'm actually saving more than $1 Canadian by making my purchase through Hella Handmade Creations. Now, I don't really know if the two items, the one being offered here through Hella Handmade Creations and the one that was being offered through Polish Pickup, I don't really know if they are actually the same item, the same specifications, or anything like that. I know they're branded differently, but I'm kind of hopeful that they are similar. Both of the brands that have released these items are Brazilian brands. And so that kind of has me hoping that I'm actually getting a deal by making my purchase through Hella Handmade Creations this month for this item. I'd love to give this magnet a try. I think it could be quite interesting. So this is another one that's pretty high on my wish list this month. This one is by Watcha Indie Polish, and this is their Velvet Effect magnet. So that's it for my wish list this month. It's quite a sizable wish list this month. Along with the usual September releases for Hella Handmade Creations, they also have this added Halloween shop this month. So some makers are offering more than one item because of the extra products being offered through the Halloween themed shop this month as well. So this one's actually one of the largest wish lists I've had in a while for Hella Handmade Creations. And I think it's also one of the most impressive months I've seen in quite a while as well. So this month, along with the regular monthly releases for September 2024, and along with the Halloween shop for 2024, there are also a few select brands that are offering encore offerings, so items that they brought back from previous months that they are offering again this month. I tried to avoid those this month. And there's also overstock items. Past overstock items are actually available right now. So if you see anything in that listing that you like, you can actually go into the shop anytime you see it and make those purchases, which is a good idea because very often for overstock items, there are 5 or less items being made available. These upcoming overstock items, though, from May 2024, these have never been offered before through overstock. These are items that were offered back in May 2024, where there was a little bit of overstock left over at Hella Handmade Creations. But again, there could be very few of each item available. Some of these items sell out in just minutes as soon as the shop opens each month. Hella Handmade Creations opens for September 2024 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that's very important if you have any of these limited edition items on your list. Items with very small caps or perhaps overstock items on your wish list. The shop is open though for an entire week and it closes on September the 21st at 11:59 p.m. Hawaiian time. So you do have a little bit longer of a period to shop than some of the other indie websites. So I'm wondering, are you shopping Hella Handmade Creations this month? If you are, what items are catching your eye? I'd love to know all your thoughts. Please feel free to add all your comments and we can continue the conversation long after. If you enjoy wish listing videos like this one, please consider giving this video a like. By giving it a like, it indicates to me that you enjoy content similar to this, and moving forward, I'll try my best to produce content like this as often as I can. As well, if you enjoy nail-related content in general, please consider subscribing. I try my best to release nail-related content as often as I can, and by subscribing, you won't miss out on any of the fun. Thank you so much for joining me this month. Happy shopping. Hopefully I'll see you again in the next one. Take care. Bye.